aitah for calling 911 on my sister, causing her to be hospitalized. And now my family won't speak to me. When I called 911 that night, I wasn't thinking about how it would look. I wasn't thinking about the headlines or the whispers, or how my mother's voice would sound when she finally picked up and screamed, "What did you do to your sister?" I was thinking about the sound my sister made when she dropped the phone. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't even a cry. It was the sound of someone giving up. My sister Hannah 29F has always been the fragile one. Growing up, she was the sensitive child, easily overwhelmed, deeply emotional, but also impossibly creative. When we were kids, she'd draw for hours, filling notebooks with strange, beautiful sketches. But as we got older, something inside her started to shift. She withdrew from people. She stopped drawing. She'd spend days in her room, curtains drawn, her voice soft and flat whenever she spoke. At first, everyone thought it was just stress, a bad breakup, a rough patch, but I knew better. I'd seen the bottles of pills lined up by her bedside. I'd heard her crying at 2 a.m., and I'd seen her text me things that no sister should ever have to read. A few weeks ago, she called me at midnight. Her voice was quiet, trembling, but she was trying to sound normal. She said, "You're lucky, you know. You got the life I wanted." I told her that wasn't true, that she could still build anything she wanted, that I loved her. She laughed, not a happy laugh, the kind that sounds like it hurts to me. Then she said, "Don't worry. You won't have to deal with me much longer." And the line went dead. I called her back. No answer. I texted. No reply. After the fifth call went straight to voicemail, I grabbed my keys and drove to her apartment. When I got there, the lights were off. Her car was outside. I knocked. No answer. Something told me to check the back window, and that's when I saw her lying on the floor, motionless, the phone still beside her. I didn't think. I called 911. The paramedics broke down the door. Everything after that felt like a blur. Sirens, flashing lights, voices shouting codes I didn't understand. When they carried her out, one of them turned to me and said, "You did the right thing. If you'd waited even 10 more minutes, she wouldn't have made it." I thought those words would bring comfort. They didn't, because when my family found out, they didn't see it that way. My mother arrived at the hospital before dawn. The first thing she did wasn't to ask if Hannah was okay. It was to glare at me and say, "You humiliated her." Apparently, when the paramedics broke in, one of the neighbors saw everything and called someone else in the family. By morning, everyone knew Hannah had been taken to a psychiatric unit. Mom said, "You made her look crazy." Dad refused to speak to me at all, even when I tried to explain that I hadn't meant to expose her, that I just wanted her alive. No one wanted to hear it. They said I should have handled it quietly. That family business shouldn't involve outsiders. Hannah spent 10 days in the hospital. I visited every single one of them, even when she wouldn't look at me. But when she was discharged, she texted me just 2 words, "Stay away." That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've been completely shut out. No one answers my calls. Mom blocked my number. Dad told mutual relatives that I betrayed the family. And maybe, in their eyes, I did. Because Hannah's not talking to anyone. She's moved in with our parents, refuses to take her meds, refuses therapy. And every time they post a photo, it's all smiles. Like none of this ever happened. Like the girl I found on the floor that night wasn't real. But I can't forget. I can't unsee what I saw. And I can't stop wondering if I ruined everything by trying to save her. I keep replaying that night, the silence on the phone, the cold apartment, the weight of the decision to dial those 3 numbers. My friends say I did the right thing. My therapist says I did what anyone should have done. But the thing is, I'm not sure that's true anymore. Because what's the point of saving someone who now hates you for doing it? What's the point of being right if it means losing your entire family? So I need to note, aitah for calling 911 on my sister, knowing it would expose her, and losing my family because of it. Part E, the silence that followed. It's strange how silence can be louder than words. It's been almost 2 months since I called 911, and my phone hasn't buzzed once with a message from my family. No, how are you? No, we need to talk. Not even a leave us alone. Just silence. Heavy, absolute, suffocating. At first, I told myself I needed to give them time, that they'd come around once Hannah stabilized. But every time I saw her name pop up on my mom's Facebook, smiling, surrounded by relatives, looking fine, I felt a twist of something dark, because I knew that photo wasn't real. Hannah has never been fine, and I had proof. One night, unable to sleep, I opened the old group chat between us. The one from years ago when things were normal. Buried under old memes and good morning messages was a voice note I hadn't noticed before. It was timestamped the night before her overdose. My hands shook as I pressed play. "You always wanted to fix me, didn't you? Like in some project you can show off. You don't love me. You love feeling like the good one, the savior." Her voice cracked, a half laugh, half sob. "Well, congratulations, big sister. You won. You got your life. It'll stop being the family embarrassment soon." Then, silence. Click. I sat there for hours just staring at the phone, because she wasn't wrong. Not entirely. There was a part of me that always wanted to protect her, to prove that I could save her when no one else did. But I never thought she saw it as condescension. I thought she knew I loved her. A few days later, I got an email from my aunt, one of the few relatives who still spoke to me quietly behind everyone else's back. "Your mom isn't telling you everything. Hannah's been having episodes again. She told people you exaggerated what happened that night, that she wasn't trying to hurt herself, just needed space." Space. The word made me sick. There's no version of needing space that ends with someone unconscious on the floor. So I drove to my parents' house. I hadn't been there since before the hospital. My dad's car was in the driveway, the porch light was on, and everything looked normal. Too normal. When I knocked, it was my mom who opened the door. The second she saw me, her smile disappeared. "You shouldn't be here," she said. Her voice was low, calm, but her eyes were cold. "I just want to see her," I said. "Please." She hesitated. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You've done enough." But I didn't leave. I walked past her, straight down the hallway to Hannah's old room. The door was half open. Inside, she was sitting on the bed, staring at her phone. She looked thinner, paler, but alive. When she noticed me, her expression froze. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you," I said. "You haven't answered my calls." "You shouldn't have called them." Her voice broke, trembling but angry. "You humiliated me. Do you understand that?" The cops broke my door. The neighbors watched. "Everyone thinks she couldn't say the word. Crazy." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You were dying, Hannah. I found you on the floor. I was fine." She snapped, her voice rising. "It wasn't what you think. I took too many by mistake. I didn't." But even as she said it, her voice faltered. She couldn't meet my eyes. We both knew it wasn't true. For a moment, I thought she might break, that shed cry, that would finally talk honestly. But then Mom appeared in the doorway, her arms crossed. "I told you not to upset her," she said. I turned. "She needs help, Mom. Real help. Therapy. Someone who isn't just pretending everything's fine." "We are fine," she said, her tone flat. "You're the only one keeping this alive." That's when I realized the truth. They needed the illusion. If Hannah's episode was just a misunderstanding, they could pretend they weren't part of it. That their neglect, their silence, their constant comparisons didn't push her over the edge, and I was the only one breaking that illusion. So they cut me out, not because I hurt Hannah, but because I reminded them they did. I left the house that night with tears freezing on my cheeks. As I reached my car, I heard the faint sound of Hannah crying inside. For a second, I almost turned back, but something in me stopped. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved, and you can't heal a family that feeds on denial. It's been 6 months now. I moved to another city, changed my number, stopped checking my mom's Facebook. Last week, I got a letter. No return address, just my name in small handwriting. Inside was a single photo, Hannah and me as kids, laughing in the backyard. On the back, she'd written, "I'm not ready to talk, but I know you did it because you love me." No apology, no closure. But for the first time in a long time, it felt like something broke, not in me, but in the silence. I still think about that night, about the choice I made that cost me my family. And sometimes, when the guilt creeps in, I remind myself of something one of the paramedics said as they took her away. "People can hate you for saving them, but that doesn't mean you were wrong to try." So maybe I am the villain in their story. But if being the villain means she's still alive to hate me, then I can live with that. Part E. What comes after the silence? You'd think that once the worst was over, once your sister survived, Once the sirens faded and the doctors said she's stable now, that peace would follow. But peace doesn't come quietly. It hides behind guilt, waiting to drag you under the moment you start to breathe again. And sometimes it wears your sister's voice. It started 3 months after the letter arrived. Aitah kept it tucked inside a drawer, like something sacred and poisonous all at once. Every time I read it, I felt both relief and dread, because I could tell she wasn't fine. That short message, "I know you did it because you love me," sounded more like resignation than forgiveness. But I didn't reach out. I couldn't. I was terrified that if I called, she'd reject me again. And maybe worse, that she wouldn't. That she'd pull me back into that cycle of panic and guilt I'd barely survived myself. So I stayed quiet. Then, one night, my phone buzzed, and a known number. No profile picture. The text said, "You shouldn't have left her alone again." My chest went cold. Before I could respond, another message came in, this time a photo. It was Hannah, sitting on her old bed, pale-faced, her eyes glassy like she'd been crying. My heart stopped. I called the number. No answer. I tried again. Nothing. Then I noticed the timestamp. The photo was from 2 weeks earlier. Someone had saved it and sent it to me. The next morning, I called my parents. No one picked up. Finally, after 5 attempts, my father answered, his voice hoarse and cold. "She's fine," he said immediately, before I could even speak. "Dad, what's going on?" I got a message, a picture. "You don't need to worry about her anymore." Then he hung up. Something in the way he said it, "You don't need to worry," sounded final, not comforting, not reassuring, like a door slamming shut. For 2 days, I couldn't think about anything else. I barely slept, barely ate. I kept staring at the photo, zooming in, noticing the details. Her unwashed hair, the faded bruise near her wrist, the same blanket from years ago. It didn't look like someone who was fine. So I drove back to my hometown again. The same street, the same cold porch light. But this time, when I knocked, no one answered. I waited for an hour, then 2. Finally, a neighbor, an old woman who I'd known us since childhood, came out. "They're gone," she said. "Gone? What do you mean?" "Your parents moved last week, said they needed a fresh start. I thought you'd know." The world seemed to tilt. I thanked her numbly and went back to my car, my mind spinning. They moved, no message, no forwarding address. And Hannah, if she went with them, had vanished completely. A week later, I got another letter. No return address again, but the same small handwriting. Inside, just one sentence. "You can't save someone who doesn't want to be found." No name, no signature, but it had to be her. The thing is, I'm not sure anymore. The more I looked at the writing, the less it looked like hers. There was something different about the letters, sharper, deliberate, like someone trying to mimic her style. And when I took the envelope to the post office to check the origin, the clerk said it had been mailed from my parents' new city. That night, I called my dad again. This time, he picked up. "Stop calling us," he said flatly. "Dad, please. Is Hannah okay? Did she write that letter? You need to let her go. You're scaring me. You already did enough damage. Just stop." And then he hung up again. But before the line cut, I heard something faint in the background. A voice, a woman's voice, crying. That was 2 months ago. Since then, nothing. No calls. No letters. Sometimes I tell myself that maybe they're right. Maybe I should stop. Maybe she's alive, healing, and in the ghost haunting her recovery. But other nights, the darker ones, I dream of her standing in that room again. Still, pale, phone in hand, eyes empty. And I wake up wondering if the photo I got wasn't from 2 weeks before but 2 minutes after. Last week, a detective called. He said someone filed a wellness check for a missing woman in my parents' new town. They found the house empty. Inside, they discovered piles of unopened letters. Most were from me, returned unread. But one envelope sat on the kitchen table with my name on it. "You did what you had to. I'm sorry I made you feel like it wasn't enough." No signature, just a small sketch in the corner, a flower half finished, smudged with what looked like tears. Now, I don't know if my sister's alive. I don't know if my parents are hiding her or if they've lost her again in the worst way possible. All I know is that every choice I made came from love, and somehow love ruined everything anyway. Maybe I saved her body but broke her spirit. Maybe I gave her another chance at life, and she chose to leave it. Or maybe, just maybe, she's out there, somewhere, drawing again. And maybe she finally forgave me, in her own way. So, if I had to do it again, call 911, face the anger, lose my family. Would I? Yes, because the truth is simple and it hurts sometimes. To love someone enough to save them, you have to accept that they may never love you back.